In my previous video, I read off all 34 counts, and that was actually pretty taxing, believe it or not, and I'm certain I sound like a robot during that as well. However, in this video, we talk about what happens next, what are the implications, what are the ramifications of these charges, and a former president being found guilty of felony charges. As many political pundits have already pointed out, this is unprecedented. This is the first time it has ever happened that charges were filed against a sitting president and, in fact, found guilty. That is not to say that impeachment proceedings haven't been happening before, because those absolutely have, but they are different. They are not felony convictions, whereas these, the falsifying business documents and the 34 counts thereof, are. Now, the ramifications are somewhat simple and also somewhat complex. The simple aspect is these are state charges, meaning if Donald Trump were to become president again, he could not pardon himself from these crimes. That would be up to the governor of New York to do. Now, since the charges themselves are unprecedented and the facts of the case themselves would lead credence to certain considerations being made on Donald Trump's behalf, such as being a first-time offender, it could be that he does not serve any jail time and instead faces probation, or if he does face jail time, that it would be concurrent sentences instead of consecutive sentences. What would that mean? Well, for one, a concurrent sentence means he would serve the maximum prison sentence time that he is sentenced with, which we'll find out in July 11, and he would serve all 34 counts thereof within that singular sentence. Whereas if it was consecutively, he would face that jail time consecutively for all 34 counts. So even if it was a year, that would be 34 years in prison, which would be the rest of his life. Now, interestingly, if he were to become president and sentenced to jail time, he could still serve as president of the United States, but he would be serving out of a jail cell. And there are apparently provisions being looked into by the Secret Service to determine how that might play out, which is egregious, don't get me wrong. It's not something that you or I would expect to happen in the United States of America or a democracy, where an incarcerated elected official could still serve their term. However, there's nothing in the Constitution that says you cannot be a felon, or in prison for that matter, and still be president of the United States, which gets to the complexity. And the reason why the likelihood of him serving a jail sentence is very slim. Not that it isn't justified, but that it is very slim. For one, he is the frontrunner in the Republican Party. He is not currently the frontrunner overall. That being said, he only trails Joe Biden by 2 points, despite these felony convictions. With that said, there's a lot to be digested and to be unpacked as these weeks and months carry on. Will the Republican Party allow Trump to continue to be the frontrunner? If not, will they then have to place Nikki Haley in the front since she was the last candidate to drop out in the primary? Will they reopen the primary to other contenders? Or will it be something else altogether? Those are questions that need to be asked. Secondly, what will the Democratic Party do? Will they use this against him in the general election? More than likely, especially if he gets the nomination. Is that ethical? It depends. Depends on how you choose to look at the ethics. If Donald Trump can slander everyone and threaten everyone under the sun that has ever wronged him or that he feels is beneath him, and the Democratic Party candidates choose to point out that he's a 34-time convicted felon, I don't see any moral or ethical ambiguity there. However, a lot of the pundits on the right, especially Ben Shapiro, would say otherwise.